Here is Vinyl Strip by Audio Thing. Now, just as an aside, I'm running Catalina on this computer, which has only been out 3 months, and the company that made this channel strip they've sorted it to work with this operating system, where many other companies are still trying to catch up. So, due diligence by this company mean it's really worth taking a look at this. It's fantastic. And I'm just going to go through the main features of this so that you can see how it works. Now, I've got a backing track here that I'm working on, so here it is clean. There we go. So I'm going to add some vinyl now. So when I stopped that, you only heard the record sound. Now you can actually switch that feature so that it only does it when you're pressing play, but for the moment I'm going to leave it live so that you can hear the different sounds that you can get from this. Now I had the amount of dust was 100%, and the rate of that, it just basically increases it even more. So if I switch it on, just a record that needs a good clean. Now, noise is just basically a sort of multi-band sort of hiss, just general platter noise or just something else. Yeah, great. Record age. Now what this does is it essentially applies a bit of a bandpass filter so that you've got modern, which is full frequency range, 20 to 20,000. And then as you go around to vintage, you get a sort of gramophone-y thing. And you can also change it from stereo to mono. That's handy. So you can make it sound like it's just being played on a little machine. So here we go with that. So there we go. Now, the last control, wow. What does that do? Well, it's a sort of pitch variation. It's as if the hole in the middle of the record isn't quite centre. So if I turn it up quite a lot, just so that you can hear it, you'll hear that the pitch just wavers up and down a bit. Obviously that's fairly draconian, but it's an effect, and that's not even on maximum either. Now, if I take all the other controls down, so I'm left with stereo, I've got the modern thing, I've got no noise amount or any dust there. If I leave the wow maybe on maybe half, I can now tweak the mix control, and you can get a sort of phasing tape effect out of this as well. So it makes it sound like a tape machine where the head is kind of wandering and the tape is going kind of where it wants. Nice sort of phasing effect. Very, very useful. Now, the other things in here, they do exactly what they say on the tin. We've got a compressor. If I just play that track back with the compressor only. Very nice. It's really useful, just 2 controls, tweak and have a blast. The distortion control on here is really nice, and it features odd and even harmonics. Now this is important. Odd harmonics is what transistors tend to emphasize when they're being pushed, whereas even harmonics are valves. So if I just switch the drive on, and then play that through again. The odd harmonics, this is what a transistor amp sounds like when it's in distortion. Valve. It's more consonant, believe it or not. If I just take the drive down a little bit, so this is kind of a subtle effect. I'll switch it on and off on the control panel. Yeah, etc. Now the reverb, I like this because it sounds all proper springy. Now if I just solo the drums out, for example, that snare drum's got some proper go on it. And of course the amount, the size, you know, you can just colour whether it's dark or bright. Nice. You can just strap this onto a snare drum track and get a really nice reverb out of it. So you can quickly see how useful this plugin is in many different ways. You know, forget the vinyl thing. You can use just the reverb or the EQ or anything on it at all. Now, just looking to EQ, this is a very clever thing here because you've got this thing called tilt, which essentially means to the left it's bassier than to the right it's more trebly. So if I just switch that on. Now, we also get a cut-off frequency where you can play with the sort of the way it sort of changes that bass and treble. So the tilt does a very different thing there, depending on the cut-off frequency, which is anywhere between 10 Hz and 10 kHz. Sampler. What does this do? Well, it's not a sampler in the sort of sense of the, you know, the bit of hardware that you record onto, but you can do some rather cool things with it. You can lower the bit depth. Let me play you that. So in the modern world, we're on 24-bit, but back in the 1980s, we were on 12-bit. So if I just switch that on or off, so just straight through at the moment. So it's more clinical sounding with it off. Then when you switch it on, you get that sort of slightly sort of 1980s digital sound. We can lower it even further. Let's try 8-bit. So it's made those symbols really fuzzy. And of course, if we take it all the way down to 6 bits, for example, that noise is called quantization noise, which is a feature of any digital system, and it becomes more apparent the lower the bit depth. So if I just go back to 24-bit, I can play with a sample rate as well. Very nice indeed. Now, I think you'll agree this is rather special as a piece of kit. Now, lastly, we've got a gain control. Now, it's not really gain in the sort of classic sense of turning things up. Rather, it's turning things down, because everything that you see here adds something to the signal. So ideally, the gain control, you may need to turn it down, especially with that EQ. If you tilt it to the bass a bit more, we could turn the gain down so you don't end up sort of overloading the computer or any other stage. And then a mix control, 100%. The thing is completely active. 0%, it's bypassed, and you can play with that, as I said, with the wow control. It can be a nice little phaser as well. There we are, the vinyl strip by Audio Thing at €59. Well, it's worth every cent.